Imagine waking up tomorrow and your job is gone. Money doesn't exist. Your boss doesn't exist. There's no alarm, no email, no endless meetings, and nobody asking you to circle back or touch base on a quick call. If your very first instinct is, "I'd finally be free," congratulations. You just had the exact same thought that literally every human being had for roughly 300,000 years. Because for most of human history, this wasn't a holiday. This was just Tuesday. Well, if they even had Tuesdays. They didn't have weeks at all. The whole concept of slicing time into 7-day chunks so you could dread 5 of them and barely enjoy 2 is a remarkably recent and terrible human invention. So here's the question that should genuinely keep you up at night. What did ancient humans actually do all day? Hour by hour, dawn to dusk, when there was no job to go to, no Netflix to watch, and no phone to doom scroll? The answer is equal parts surprising, fascinating, and honestly, a little bit embarrassing for us. Because it turns out the people we spent centuries calling primitive were, in several huge ways, living better than most of us are right now. The biggest lie we've ever been told about prehistoric life is that it was basically a non-stop survival horror game. You know the cliche. Ancient human wakes up, tries not to get eaten, grunts at a rock, and dies at 30. That idea is almost completely wrong, and the reason we believed it for so long is actually kind of funny. We looked at the hard, durable evidence of ancient life and immediately jumped to the most brutal conclusions possible. We found bones with cut marks and sharp weapons and went, "Ha, yes! Pure, miserable, non-stop survival violence 24/7. Except we completely ignored the rest of the picture. Because when you actually look at the full archaeological record, you don't find a panicked species running for its life. You find a community that was comfortable, secure, and had an extraordinary amount of downtime on their hands. The survival horror narrative isn't just slightly inaccurate, it's almost the complete opposite of the truth. So let's open up the real record and see what they were actually making and doing with all that time. Take their craftsmanship. We've discovered delicate musical instruments made from bird bones and mammoth ivory dating back over 40,000 years. You do not invent, tune, and play complex musical instruments if you're spending every waking second running from predators. We found intricate jewelry made from shells, teeth, and carefully polished stones strung together as ornamental necklaces. Medium full shot of a prehistoric female stick figure happily wearing an intricate shell necklace around her neck, showing it off to a friend. We even found evidence of people traveling hundreds of miles on foot across landscapes with no roads, no maps, and definitely no Uber. All just to trade colorful mineral pigments for cosmetic body paint. Think about that. Crossing whole continents just to get your favorite shade of red. We found graves where people were buried with deep reverence, with ceremony, and sometimes blanketed in wildflowers. That is the undeniable behavior of a species that had time on their hands. A lot of it. And they were using that time to do genuinely creative, fascinating things. In the 1960s, anthropologist Marshall Sahlins did something radical. He actually tracked the daily hours of modern hunter-gatherers. He studied groups like the Kung San of the Kalahari and the Hadza of Tanzania to see how much they actually worked. He calculated all the time spent on subsistence, hunting, gathering, cooking, tool upkeep, and maintaining shelter. And the result completely shattered our modern assumptions. They only worked 3 to 5 hours a day. 3 to 5 hours. By lunchtime, their entire job for the day was completely wrapped up. The rest of the day was legitimately completely free. Free to rest, talk, nap, play games, tell stories, or craft tools they didn't even immediately need. Sahlins famously called them the original affluent society. Not because they owned mountains of stuff, but because they owned something far more valuable: their own time. Unscheduled, unmonetized, totally sovereign time. Ancient nomads kept possessions light because anything you own is something you have to carry on your back. They traded clutter for total freedom of movement and freedom of mind. Now look at the average adult today. Between jobs, commutes, chores, and admin life, we get barely 2 to 3 hours of leisure. And we spend most of it staring at little glass rectangles, consuming feeds algorithmically designed to keep us anxious. We are literally working longer hours, carrying higher stress, and getting less genuine rest than people who hunted with sticks. Just let that sit with you for a moment. Who really invented the better way to spend a human life? Let's break down exactly what filled their days, because this is where it gets truly extraordinary. They didn't just sit around in silence. Their days were rich with connection. And at the very center of it all was one simple activity: talking. Ancient humans were relentless, dedicated, world-class talkers. Studies show that up to 70% of all non-work time was spent entirely in conversation. And not just tactical talk about hunting. They joked, flirted, argued, complained, gossiped, and shared epic stories. Other primates bond by physically grooming each other, picking bugs out of fur for hours. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar pointed out that as human tribes grew toward 150 members, physical grooming became mathematically impossible. So we evolved language as vocal grooming, a way to bond with 5 people around a fire simultaneously. Gossip isn't a character flaw. It is humanity's original social software. Every time you spend hours just chatting and laughing with friends, you're doing exactly what your ancestors did 50,000 years ago. You aren't wasting time. You're engaging in the oldest and most essential human ritual there is. And when the fire died down, their nightly rhythm was just as surprising. Here's a fact that genuinely freaks people out. Sleeping in one solid 8-hour block is mostly a modern invention. It wasn't how we evolved to sleep. It was forced onto us by artificial lighting and factory schedules. Historian Roger Eckerch uncovered overwhelming evidence that humans historically slept in 2 distinct phases. First sleep began shortly after dusk and lasted until roughly midnight. A deep, restful slumber nestled under hides in total natural darkness. Then came a natural, peaceful waking period of 1 to 2 hours right in the middle of the night, followed by second sleep that lasted straight until dawn. People didn't toss and turn in panic. They were naturally awake, alert, and calm. It was only when gas and electric lights conquered the night that this natural rhythm got squished into an unnatural 8-hour block. So if you wake up at 2 in the morning feeling wide awake, don't panic. Your body is just remembering ancient history. What did ancient humans actually do during that magical midnight hour? They prayed, they meditated, they stargazed, or simply enjoyed the quiet stillness of the world. They talked softly with their partners, visited next-door shelters, or shared intimate moments. Some checked on their camp surroundings, completely relaxed under the soft moonlight. Historical records show people deliberately used this quiet window for deep reflection and creative problem-solving. Then, feeling naturally drowsy again, they drifted effortlessly back into their second sleep until the morning sun arose. No midnight existential dread, no checking the clock every 5 minutes in a panic. You aren't broken. You're just missing the campfire, the quiet night air, and the company of your tribe. A world with zero light pollution, where the night sky was an absolute masterpiece every single night. And once the sun came up, their hands got to work on crafts that were anything but simple. We often hear Stone Age and think crude, clumsy, or primitive, but try making a stone tool yourself. Stone knapping, shaping flint or obsidian, is an unforgiving, high-precision science. You must anticipate internal fracture angles and control strike force down to the millimeter. A single bad blow ruins hours of work. Modern archaeologists who learn flint knapping spend years of intense daily practice to master it. And tailoring cold-weather clothing was a massive engineering feat. We found 50,000-year-old bone needles with tiny eyelets drilled right through them using stone tools. Someone sat down and made that needle because they cared deeply about the precision of their stitches. They produced durable, tailored, weatherproof clothing that kept families warm across freezing Ice Age winters. This wasn't mindless survival. It was pride of craftsmanship honed over lifetimes. And when they took that mastery onto cave walls, the results were nothing short of breathtaking. Deep inside caves like Chauvet and Lascaux in France, ancient humans created true masterpieces. Dating back as far as 36,000 years, these are not crude stick doodles. They show dynamic, galloping horses, charging rhinos, and hunting lions, rendered with staggering anatomical mastery. Artists used the natural curves and 3D bulges of the rock walls to give the animals realistic volume and depth. When viewed by the flickering light of a handheld fire torch, the beasts literally appear to move and breathe. They build cinematic, moving illusions inside pitch-black stone caves tens of thousands of years ago. Professional modern illustrators who study them are still stunned by their command of perspective and light. They crouched in the dark for hours, not because it put food on the table, but because they had something to say. And they found a medium that would outlast everything else they ever touched by tens of millennia. If that isn't the purest definition of art, I don't know what is. Play isn't a modern luxury. It's the hallmark of intelligent, social creatures. Dolphins play, wolves play, and prehistoric humans played constantly and elaborately. Children in every hunter-gatherer society ever studied engage in rich, imaginative play. We have physical board games dating back to 2500 BCE, but organized games go back way further. Wrestling matches, foot races, and target throwing contests show up independently in ancient cultures worldwide. Because when you only work 4 hours a day, you have plenty of leftover energy for fun and friendly competition. And play was their primary system of education. You learned to hunt by playing hunting games. You learned social diplomacy by playing with rules and real conflict. Ancient kids didn't sit in cramped classrooms. They were out in the world, and the whole world was their playground. Play taught them teamwork, resilience, and joy, and it bonded the entire tribe together. Here is the detail that hits the hardest. Ancient humans took extraordinary care of their vulnerable. At Shanidar Cave, scientists found a Neanderthal who survived to age 40 with an amputated arm, severe blindness, deafness, and broken legs. In Spain, we found the skull of a child with Down syndrome who lived to 8 years old 500,000 years ago. In a harsh Ice Age climate, keeping that child alive required immense love, dedication, and shared communal sacrifice. We constantly find healed bone fractures in ancient skeletons. A bone takes months to knit. Someone had to bring them food, protect them, and keep their fire burning every single day. They buried their elders and fallen companions with deep ceremony, grave goods, and genuine grief. Their bones do not tell a story of cold, brutal indifference. They tell a story of communities that chose empathy and love over ruthless efficiency. Because caring for one another isn't a modern luxury. It's what made us human in the first place. And yes, they also hunted, and the way they did it was completely mind-blowing. Before bows and arrows, early humans hunted using a superpower called persistence hunting. You don't try to outsprint a wild antelope. You can't. You just track it and jog steadily behind it in the heat of midday. Every time the animal stops to cool down by panting, you appear again on the horizon. Our bodies are biological running machines. Massive glute muscles, spring-loaded arches, and long legs engineered for heat. Most mammals must stop to pant, but humans sweat all over our hairless skin and breathe independently of our stride. After 5 or 8 hours of relentless tracking, the prey simply overheats and collapses from sheer exhaustion. The hunter walks up calmly and finishes the harvest. When you run a marathon today and question your choices, remember, your body was literally engineered over millions of years to do this. You come from the ultimate long-distance pursuit predators on planet Earth. What about real downtime? True, genuine mental rest? Neuroscience reveals a brain system called the default mode network, which only switches on when you are completely unfocused. It's responsible for daydreaming, emotional processing, creative breakthroughs, and mental time travel. To activate it, your brain must stop processing external stimulation. Modern life bombards us with constant input, notifications, podcasts, scrolls, making real rest almost impossible. Ancient humans sat by the fire watching the flames for hours, letting thoughts wander and dissolve without an agenda. That stillness gave them profound emotional regulation and subconscious problem-solving power. Great leaps in art, philosophy, and tools always cluster in periods of genuine contemplation. When you give the human mind quiet space, it does extraordinary things. And from those quiet, wandering minds around ancient campfires came the very foundation of civilization. Sitting with their thoughts night after night, our ancestors started asking the biggest questions. Why do the stars move across the sky? Where do our loved ones go when they pass? What do the animals dream of? How was this breathtaking world made? Those campfire stories are the direct ancestors of science, philosophy, religion, and literature. They all came from human minds that had the gift of time to simply wander and wonder. They worked less, connected more, slept peacefully, and lived fully in the present. So, after seeing how they truly spent their days, I have one final question for you. Would you trade modern life to go back? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care of yourselves, get some real rest, and I'll see you soon.